March Madness. You know what it's all about, right? Buzzer beaters, Cinderella stories, and, well, sometimes complete and utter blowouts. But every so often, a game that's supposed to be a real nail-biter turns into an absolute dismantling. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today, the anatomy of a blowout. Just look at that score, 102-77. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That's a 25-point beatdown in a tournament where every single possession is supposed to feel like life or death. A final score like this doesn't just happen by accident. Oh no, it's engineered. So the big question is, right, how does that even happen? How does a game that on paper looks like a total coin flip end up as a 25-point shellacking? Well, it's a wild mix of strategy, pure momentum, and some serious mental warfare, and we are going to get into all of it. Okay, so to really get just how shocking this result was, you gotta look at the setup before the game even started. This was supposed to be your classic can't-miss first-round battle. So you've got the 8 seed, the Georgia Bulldogs, taking on the 9 seed, the Saint Louis Billikens. Now, if you know anything about March Madness, you know that an 8 versus 9 matchup, that's a total toss-up. Everybody was expecting a fight, a game that would go right down to the final buzzer. But St. Louis had very different plans. And for the Billikens, this wasn't just another game. We're talking about their first NCAA tournament win in over a decade, since 2014. That's a long time. You could just feel they were playing with a different level of hunger, a kind of desperation on every single play. This was their moment. You know, in every blowout, there's that one moment, the tipping point, where a small lead just explodes. But for St. Louis, it wasn't just a moment, it was an absolute tidal wave of scoring. 23-0. And no, that is not a typo. St. Louis went on a 23-0 scoring run. In a high-stakes tournament game, that is just unheard of. That kind of run doesn't just put points on the board, it completely breaks the other team's spirit. So what does a run like that do? It balloons the lead to 67-32. The game was effectively over, with 15 minutes still left to play. Can you even imagine being on either of those benches right then? The pure joy on one side, and just utter shock on the other. And listen to this quote from one of the players, Robbie Avila. He said, "We were able to really pile on them early and kind of take their will away." Wow. I mean, that says everything, doesn't it? It wasn't just about outscoring them. It was a mission to mentally dominate them, to crush their spirit. So, the question is, how in the world did they pull that off? A run like that doesn't just happen by luck. Nope. This was dominance by design, and it was really built on 3 core pillars of a perfect performance. It all boiled down to 3 things. First, they were absolutely relentless in attacking the basket. Second, their defense was just suffocating. And third, their star players showed up in a huge way, right where it counts, at the rim. Get this number, 66. That's how many points St. Louis scored in the paint. Not from the three-point line, but right up close in the trenches. I mean, they didn't just play in the paint, they owned it. It was like a layup line out there. And here's player Dion Brown breaking down their simple but deadly philosophy. He said, if a guy drives, you better make that cut, and I made the cut. And did he ever? The guy scored 18 points on an insane 9 of 10 shooting. And get this, every single one of his baskets was a layup or a dunk. And what about on the other side of the ball? Well, it was like Georgia was running into a brick wall. Look at these numbers. St. Louis shot a blazing 58% from the field, and Georgia, just 35%. That massive gap tells you everything you need to know about the kind of defense St. Louis was playing. You know, sometimes the best way to understand a game like this is to hear it from the coaches afterwards. The contrast in what they said, man, it tells the whole story. First, you have Georgia's head coach, Mike White, and you can just feel the disbelief in his words. He said, "We weren't very prepared to compete at the level that I thought we would. I did not see that coming." I mean, his team just got run off the floor, and he was just as stunned as the rest of us. Then, on the flip side, you listen to St. Louis coach Josh Schertz, and it's a totally different world. He said, "I thought we were really physical, I thought we executed well, and I thought we were connected and together. Just calm, cool, and collected." He sounds like a guy whose master plan just worked to absolute perfection. So there you have it. One single game sends these two teams on completely different paths. For St. Louis, it was a school record 29th victory.
But for Georgia, it was the most lopsided, gut-wrenching loss of their entire season, on the biggest stage possible. Talk about high stakes. But here's the thing about March Madness, right? There's no time to rest. Your reward for pulling off a historic upset is, well, an even bigger, scarier challenge waiting right around the corner.
And what was that challenge? Oh, just the #1 seed in the entire region, the Michigan Wolverines. So you've got the #9 seed, flying high after a huge win, coming up against a total powerhouse. It's that classic David versus Goliath setup that we all love about the tournament.
And Coach Schertz, he knew exactly what was coming. He wasn't talking trash or making bold predictions. He just said, we get to play, obviously I think the best team in the country on Saturday. Just straight up respect for the giant they were about to face. So it leaves you with this massive question, right? After a performance like that, a record-setting win, was this just a perfect storm? A one-time thing that they can't possibly do again? Or was this the beginning of a true Cinderella story? And you know what? That's the magic of March. You just have to wait and see.